by a publisher called Stewart, Tabori and Chang, which was a subsidiary of Abrams, Harry and Abrams, fabulous art book publisher, of course, out of New York. And George was on fire. This was in the late 1990s, and they put us on book tour. Y'all, 50 cities in the US and Canada in 2 months. It is crazy. It was completely crazy. So we were on a plane. This was all, remember, pre-9/11. We were on a plane every single day. And then you got things like being at the TV station at 4:30 in the morning. You got that kind of stuff going on at the same time with all of this. It was something. So this book, we're on that tour, and the publisher says, okay, well, we want to, at intermittent stops on the tour, and they picked like their top, I don't know, 5 or 6 big stops. We want to do some sort of a show. And so they said, George, can you do something like, you know, visit with everybody, do a lecture or something like that? And he says, no, but my wife can. And I'm sitting there in that meeting going, they don't want your wife, they want you. And he said, y'all trust me, I'll figure this out, I'll work it out, we're gonna be painting the whole thing. So he comes up with this whole plan. The very first one where we did this was in Chicago, on Michigan Avenue, at Borders Bookstore, which is no longer there. It was a 3-story bookstore, huge. Some of you have been there, I see the heads. And at the time, in those years, we also were working with Neiman Marcus. And we had partnered with them, and it was 3 years, 3 catalog covers, because you'd only do 3 each time. But it was a great time to be partnering with them while we're on book tour. Because of course they're selling the books also, they're coordinating with the publisher and doing the tour. Y'all, they put us on tour with a band. Do you know the band Asleep at the Wheel? Yeah. We went on tour with them. Well, we went to Hawaii together, we all went, and it was just our little show with the band. It was really, really fun times. It was so exciting. And so we're in Chicago, and Neiman Marcus is hosting the cocktail party to start everything, right? And so they've got the blue martinis, which I did not drink because I knew I had to speak, but I really wanted to. The blue dog martinis and the whole thing. They've got a brass band, and we're gonna do a second line, which we did, down Michigan Avenue, you know, holding up our napkins and dancing all the way down the streets. And George and I are out in front, and we're going down Michigan Avenue, and we look across the street at the Borders. And there was a mob of people and a line down the blocks further than we could see. And we're both thinking the same thing. And we looked at each other, and George said at first, he goes, I can see him now doing it. He goes, What do they do? Book Madonna or something? I was like, I don't know. I mean, it never in a million years did it occur to us that it was for him. Never crossed our mind. And so we second line across Michigan Avenue, and we come walking up, and the bookstore manager is out front. And she goes, and we're supposed to do this little show inside, right? With him painting and me telling his story and talking, because he's cooked this thing up. And so we're coming up to the front of the store, and the manager's outside. And she goes, oh, you're here. And George and I are like, what is all this? And she said, this is for you. These people are here for you. What? And she goes, and I have even better news. C-SPAN is here. And they have brought all their cameras, and they are going to film this as their first ever webcast. And George and I both said the same thing together. What's a webcast? No idea. You remember these early internet days, and everybody's like, everything was new every day, right? Y'all, I was shaking, and I'm pulling my notes. Back then I used notes. I'm pulling my notes for my first big presentation, right, out of my pocket. And George says, I need to talk to you. And he takes me off to the side, and he takes my notes, and he rips them up in front of me. And he threw them in the trash. And he said, I'm going to tell you right now, Wendy, about public speaking and storytelling. You don't ever use notes. Ever. You connect with your audience. You plan ahead somewhat, knowing where you are, who you're going to be visiting with. He said, but then you make it alive. because you look people in the eye. You know this, and it will never stop wrong. You know this. I don't know what I said that day. No idea. But I got through it. I got through it. And so then the final thing on this storytelling journey, before we get to the big thing that really brought me here, was some years later, so we continued with this, right? And this kept going, and we did other books, and suddenly we're like a show, and people are asking us to come places, and we do this thing together. We do it in schools all over. We did whole tours of schools. Our last tour of schools was in Japan. I mean, we did them all over the place. And museums would have us come in as like the big attraction for them to raise money, and we'd do that kind of stuff. So time goes on, and George has become a really big deal. And especially with the onset of the internet, what is happening is more and more people are writing in with questions. And it's people who are doing their college thesis on George, frankly, or are writing books on contemporary art and are including George. Or it's a teacher teaching a course and he's part of the course, things like that. And so all those things fall on my desk. And so I find myself constantly emailing out massive amounts of answers. This is like full time now to the same questions. So blogging is coming around in these times. And I'm like, George, I'm gonna try this blogging thing. Because what if I do a blog and then I just take the big burning questions that everybody asks. Where did the blue dog come from? Did George go to art school? Where did he grow up? Who is in the Ioli dinner? You know, it was just one after the other. Well, how did he develop the oak trees? All these questions, and I'll just take all these questions and then I'll write down every single thing I know about these answers and put them in this blog, and then when I get these emails, I can just send a link. And he's like, I don't know what a blog is, but whatever, if you think it'll work, and I'm like, that's what I'm doing. So I started, and this was in the fall of 2009. Well, the blog starts taking off, and I didn't know a thing about, I wasn't like looking at numbers, I'm just doing this. And I committed to myself that I would do 3 a week. That's how I would do this. And boy, it was working. You know, I'd send out these links, and every time somebody asked me a question that I hadn't written a blog about yet, that went on my list, there it came. So about a few months go by, and George is starting to get stopped on the street about the blog. Oh, I read your wife's blog, I didn't know this, I didn't know that. It's got me really excited. So he decides to read my blogs. Actually, he had me read them to him. And he said, I want you to do something for me. I want you to get personal. And I said, wait a minute. He said, I want you to get personal. I want you to quit writing like this. Writing all this stuff you know because you interviewed me. I want you to get personal about you and how you feel about some of these things. And how do you feel about what's going on right now with our world, with what's happening with us, and with the art, and with this pretty insane journey we were on. So I wrote that essay, my first personal one. George used to say, and I'm gonna tell you this because you're all artists, and maybe you all know this already, I hope so. And if not, if you take one nugget away from you today, I hope it's this. He would say that in art, the more personal you are, the better you become. That is so scary. When I hit post on this essay, I was so scared. I sat on it for days. And I'm gonna read you a bit of it today.